Hello, good morning, or evening, or afternoon. It really depends on the time zone you're in. I hope everyone is having a pleasant Saturday, which is today's bonus Saturday stream. I had a little extra time this weekend than I normally would, and I wanted to do something a bit, not different because we're going to be doing the same thing, but I want to do a bit more, stream for a little bit longer, start a bit earlier, and see where we get to. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's just let a few people roll in, and then we'll kind of get started. I guess if you are new here, we are building a game in Scratch from C++ and OpenGL, and if you're not new here, we are still building a game in Scratch from C++ and OpenGL. Exciting news, I have now been promoted to Twitch affiliate, which is exciting. I'm more than prepared to admit that I don't fully understand Twitch, so I've kind of left all the settings as default as per what I assume is the recommended ones. So we'll see what happens. I already 3 subscribers, so thank you very much. That's 4. Wow, excellent. So I say thank you, Yabuk, AC, Unlimited Coder 2, and Kweko? Question mark on pronunciation. Super appreciated. Thank you very much. Really kind of you. We'll try and shout them out as they come in. Kieran, thank you very much. New follow. I was supposed to have little pop-ups that to remind me when people subscribe, etc., etc. If they don't show up, who knows? We'll see what happens. I'll fix it as we go along. This is very much a learning curve for me. All this, I'm figuring it all out as I go along, as well as OpenGL. So it is dual streamed on YouTube and on Twitch, and I have a tool which combines all the chats, which is great for me but terrible for you. So I will just respond to everyone as they come in as like one continuous conversation. Apologies if you can't see the other half, but I hope you all enjoy it. So yeah, basically this is where we got to on the previous stream. Now, I'm going to say confusingly, this might blow your mind, the cube is not moving. In fact, it is merely the camera that is rotating around it, but as there is no other reference point, it very much looks like the cube is spinning. So the plan for today is to expand on this. This is why I want to have a little bit more time to kind of go through a lot of it. So we've got our kind of render function, which, in all honesty, not a lot of code, not too bad, but it is terrible. Thank you very much. The super chat from Luke, very much appreciated. Do I think advancements in Ghidra decompiler make being awesome at reading raw assembly less relevant as opposed to reading decompiled C? I think it's a really good question. I'm happy to answer it. I know it's not, it's kind of more in line with the videos and the stream, but I think it's a great question. And I as a general note, I will do my best. I will always respond to super chats. Let me just give that a little click there. I think it's super important. Well, I'm trying to phrase this because this is a really good question. For the kind of stuff that I'm doing, especially on the videos, eventually we'll have to read the assembly. There's the decompiler is only so good, and the C it gives you is only heuristically kind of okay. There will always be times when you just need to deep dive into it. And actually, I think, if you are debugging something, even if you're not reverse engineering it, and you are in the unfortunate situation where you don't have symbols, say you've got a prod build or something, like a release build, then there's at some point you will just have to read the assembly and try and figure out what it does. So I think decompilers make it so you have to read assembly maybe less and less, but I don't think it's a substitute for necessarily being able to read it. Hopefully that kind of answers your question. Subjectively audio better on Twitch? I can't. I'm literally the only one here who can't hear it, so I'll have to take your word for it. So yeah, our render code is kind of okay, but also at the same time not. Clears the buffers, selects the single program that we have, sets up a load of matrix stuff for the view, model, projection, all that sort of stuff, which is again pretty much hard coded, and then just spins the camera around, and then we bind our single mesh and then we draw it. So everything is. Oh, this is someone pointed this out. This is actually a typo. I'm kind of surprised it works. So what I want to do is basically start abstracting all this out. So the render function these are all created and dropped each time. Yes, that's a good point. So, well, no, I mean, the model and the projection are static, so they are only instantiated once because they don't change because we don't move the model. If we did want to move the model, we'd have to create them, but we have to create the view matrix every time. So that's a really good point. So one of the first things I want to do is pull out a lot of this chuff into a camera class, and then I want to pull out the model and the material into an entity class, and then I want the entity class to go into a scene class, and then the render function should literally just take a camera and a scene and basically say, look, hey renderer, here's a scene, here's a camera, I want you to render this scene from the point of view of this camera. And I think that kind of abstraction will really help us, because at some point we're going to want multiple render passes. We might want a shadow pass, we might want like a reflection pass. It might be that we want to say, hey, render, this scene from a different camera point of view, and then by doing that we can kind of just modify the scene, take stuff in, take stuff out kind of easily, create different cameras, and then we kind of reuse that logic. So that's the plan. I think that's what we're going to start doing. So again, I always get asked, so I'll say it straight off the bat. This is NeoVim running into WSL, but I'm cross-compiling it for Windows, so these are all Windows binaries. I'm just using a toolchain that I am more comfortable with, I would say. So yes, let's try that. So source camera.h. I think camera's probably the first one to kind of figure out, and also if we get time, pi over 4 is 45-degree field of view. Yes, because pi is 180 degrees. So we're sticking everything in the namespace game. Again, we can make, though, field of view and stuff like that a component of the camera, so you can kind of potentially construct your camera class with a field of view, with the look at, the up, and all that kind of stuff, and then that is kind of all abstracted for us in one place. Is this the 100th live stream? Are you going to be a Twitch creator? I'm just enjoying creating on whatever platform I find easy to create on, if that makes sense. Like Twitch, some people prefer Twitch, some people prefer YouTube, and the tooling is pretty easy now to just kind of squirt it out to both. So that's what we'll be doing. So we're going to want public and some private bits. Okay, let's have a look at what we've actually got in the renderer to see. So we know we want we know we want a view, and we know we want a projection matrix. I want the camera to kind of be abstracted away from the maths. Like the camera class should do the maths for you and provide a way of accessing it as needed, but by and large you should talk to the camera in terms of like things that make sense for a camera, i.e. move it here, point it at this, set the field of view to this. So what the actual components we need are a position, a look at, and an up, which are all the components of view, and then for the projection we will need a field of view, and then the near plane, far plane, left and up, right. So basically we're going to take all the bits that the matrices need in the constructor, and that allows us to construct the camera we want. And the fact that that kind of gets translated into a matrix under the hood is, for a user, irrelevant, and then for the renderer we can pull that out. I have a Corsair something K70 RGB. Wouldn't you start with an abstract class of 3D object or so and then derive camera from this? Potentially. I haven't really thought that far ahead about what I want, like the scene. I'm kind of keeping things simple at the moment, which means kind of, to a certain extent, not looking too far ahead. At the moment, I just know I need a camera, and I don't need any way of referring to that in an abstract sense, because I'm going to create some entities and throw that in a scene, and that's just going to kind of own those. So for the moment, no. Why the extra stream this night? I had some extra time, and I thought I'd spend it with you guys. Alerts on for cheers. That sounds like a thing I want. I don't really want to stop and interrupt the stream to figure it now. I think someone has just cheered. I will figure that out for the next one. A lot of this is a learning curve for me, so thank you. Unless someone knows how to do it and it's super easy, might have to wait to the next one. Yeah, so we're going to want set position, set rotation, set lookout, and I'm not sure if we're going to want update because again, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to fully structure this yet. I'm just sort of keeping it simple. It's kind of like a loose abstraction over OpenGL. We'll figure this out as we go along. So camera is then going to have a const vector3 position. It's going to have a lookout. It's going to have an up, and then it's going to have a float field of view, and then it's going to have a. Let me just steal these from the perspective constructor, so I keep them in the right order. Float width, float height, float near plane, and float far plane. Seems like a good starting point. And then we're going to have we're going to need a way of getting out the matrix data, and we're going to need a way of moving it around. Typo with width, almost certainly. Thank you. If you're new here, I can't spell, nor can I type. It's absolute shocker that I managed to get anything done day to day. But the most important thing is that people are here to review my code as I type it, and there's something quite fun about writing code in front of loads of people. So I'm glad everyone's kind of keeping me in check. Queco, you have lots of Twitch things next to your name, so I assume you're doing something to support the stream, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Apologies for my sort of somewhat naive Twitch knowledge. Am I doing this purely for content, or why wouldn't I use Iris to make a game? So Iris is the game engine that I wrote previously. It's actually what I started making content on YouTube before I sort of switched to the game reverse engineering stuff. It's kind of both. Iris is in a bit of a weird state where I've kind of backed myself into a corner architecturally, and I find it actually quite difficult to do anything with it. It's also way more complicated than I kind of set out for it to be. It supports OpenGL, it supports Metal, it supports DirectX 12, it supports Linux, macOS, iOS, Windows. It's just a lot to it, and because of that and just the way I've designed it, it's actually quite hard to make any changes. So I thought it was kind of fun just to take it right back to scratch and just see what we can do to actually. I think it's actually quite hard to make a game in Iris. I don't think it's in a particularly good space. Whereas I thought it actually might be fun to try and make a game by just going from scratch. So that's kind of my thought process. The lookout is the rotation of the camera left, right. Kind of. You can think of a camera as positioned in 3D space, and then the lookout is where the camera is facing, and then basically it will figure out. Lookout will set the angle based on the difference between the lookout and the position, if that makes sense. So lookout is itself not a rotation, but the rotation is derived from that. It actually derives, I want to say, like an orthonormal pair of origin pair, whatever it is, and then calculates effectively the inverse, and then every entity in the world is effectively multiplied by the inverse of that, because the camera is technically always static, and when you move the camera to the right, what you actually do is just move everything else to the left. It's going to be a game, not an engine. Very much keen for it to not be an engine. That's why I'm only doing like the bare minimum I need, so we're only adding stuff that we need to. So that's why a lot of the classes might seem a little bit lacking. So like in the vector class, for instance, we've only got the subtraction. We've got the subtraction operators and the unary negate operator, because those are the only ones we needed so far. I'm not going to add the others until we need them. So then from here we're going to want matrix. So we're going to have a matrix for view and a matrix for projection. And then from here, we're going to need a way of getting these. So again, I'm only going to create getters, not setters. And I think we discussed this before. Camera should kind of keep these immutable unless you manipulate them through specific interface that we're going to create. Basically, we're going to allow the camera to be like translated or rotated or moved, and then that will automatically recalculate the matrices. We don't want someone to be messing around with these internally. The fact that you can get the matrix out is a bit of an escape hatch anyway. So auto view const. What we can do is actually return a const reference just so you don't have to copy out the 14 bytes. Or we could return the span, actually. That's good. So part of the design of matrix 4, again, I'm kind of figuring a lot of this out as we go along, returns the date, gives you just access to the underlying elements via a span, because that's all you really need. So I'm wondering if we should just propagate that through to the camera. I think we should. So the question is, as a user of the camera class, so this is kind of how I design things. I sort of ask myself questions about what the class should do. Like, is it a black box? Like, what kind of questions should I be able to ask it? And I guess my question really is, do I, from the outside, care that it's a matrix? Or do I just need, at some point, raw access to the byte data to pass to OpenGL? I suspect that's the answer. The schedule has not changed. This is a bonus one. I'm still planning on doing the normal sort of 8 till 10 UTC stream tomorrow. I just had some time today, and I wanted to do a bonus one that was slightly longer. So I think we're going to do std span const float. And then projection. Because I don't think there is, I think we should be prepared to make some mistakes. Let's, at the end of the day, we get stuck in an analysis paralysis. Here is the decision I've made. I'm going to stick with it, and then when it is inevitably wrong, I will go back and change it. So let's bring all this over to the CPP file and then start filling in the blanks. So we've got, it's gonna bring that across, camera, and then here can be camera, bring that in. Okay, right, so view for here will be position, look at, up, and then projection will have no, that's, so then we'll have to do matrix for projection. I need to do that for the perspective. I need to do that for the other one as well. I'll just send that. Fov width height near plane fat plane. And view obviously won't understand that, so we will do matrix for look at. Why do I include headers twice? Since they're already in the header file. I am a firm believer that you should always include the things that you need when you need them and not rely on what's called transitive includes. Yes, camera H does already include these, and it is a fair assumption to say that everything in the header file I will probably need in the camera file. But imagine imagine, I don't know, matrix 4 included something that I relied on in this file, and then later on in the future I refactored matrix 4 so it no longer had that dependency. Now all of a sudden my camera CPP doesn't build through no fault of its own, so I'm a firm believer that you should just include the things you need when you need them. So great question. I would like to do multiplayer, but I think that might be like the next series. Let's try and do something single player first, but I would really like to dive into multiplayer. I'd really like to do it with coroutines as well, so I think there's lots of fun stuff we can do there. I don't forward declare. I will forward declare in the header if needed, but there's nothing I need to do forward declare here because I need to know the actual type. Oh no, I suppose they are references, aren't they? I tend to not forward declare unless I absolutely need to. And again, maybe that's just more of a personal preference. Would you... Do you need the position lookup in your constructor? You're going to provide these on every render frame anyway. So no, I'm going to basically dependency inject the camera into the render method. So the render will take a camera and a scene eventually, hopefully by the end of today. And you basically say, here is a scene, please render it with this camera. So we'll only have to construct it once. And then we can move the camera externally to the renderer as needed. Because I'd also like to maybe look at doing some user input stuff today. And then from that, we can get on with it. Voice chat and voice chat encoding is an interesting beast. Tried implementing it myself with Opus, and it's a short, interesting challenge. Yeah, so again, I would probably focus, if we were to do multiplayer, I'd probably focus on like the mechanics of just having synchronized worlds with a single server, multiple client architecture, and then from that you need, what are the three things you need? Entity interpolation, client-side prediction, and lag compensation. Those kind of three things I think are super fun to implement. So I'd probably give those a go. Projection data. Let me just fix up my includes. Okay, and now from CMake source, we need to actually build the camera.cpp. Check that blends. Nailed it. Okay, cool. So I'll take my compile JSON file and then go back to the camera. Okay, so we've got a camera class. I think it's, well, let's not think. Let's know. Let's see if it works. So renderer. Camera. So the render method should take a const camera, right? So that's the first kind of thing we want to dependency inject. And then from that we can go to the renderer. Bring in camera. Again, as someone said, I don't need to, I choose to. Camera. What I also want to do is get rid of the GL get uniform location and GL uniform matrix for these by the end of this. I'd like to have both of these tied up in what's called a UBO, a uniform buffer object, which is a block of arbitrary memory we can write to on the graphics card. It'd be nice if we can kind of just stuff those in there once rather than having to upload them every single time. What does the arrow opera syntax mean? So again, this comes up a lot. Great question. This is the trading return type syntax, which was introduced in C++. 4. I don't think it was 11. Was it maybe 14? Anyway, it's just an alternative way of specifying the return type, and I'm trying it out in this project to see if I like it. So that's kind of C++ 11. Thanks. Interesting. I thought it was 14, but okay. I'm just trying it out to see if I like it. Like, you know, the advantage of having a medium-sized, or what will eventually be a medium-sized code base that you control, is that you can kind of experiment with stuff. And I'm just seeing if I like it. So far, I don't hate it. Kind of hard to say whether that's, you know, read into that what you will. Oh, we need to do resource loading as well and get these out into files. But again, we've got some time today, so we'll see what we get to. So we can now create our... I'm going to steal these so I get the values right. Const auto camera equals game camera. And then something like that. And then this will need to be 0.0f, and I believe we started Z off at 5.0f, I think. And then need to include numbers. And then we can now pass that to, we can pass the camera in. Okay, so now we're basically saying, again, this is not the end goal, because the end goal, the renderer shouldn't own the scene, but at the moment the renderer has the scene, which is just a single cube. But at least we can now say, hey, here's the camera. So what we can now do is get rid of all this chuff, and then do camera dot view and camera dot projection. See if that builds. Oh yeah, we can remove all the good shout. Let's get rid of all this chuff as well. So it doesn't. Oh, why does it not like it? No Bible promotion. Oh, because I need to do data on the end, don't I? Yes. Yes. So, good question. I've been watching videos for quite a while. Would like to know how do I get better at reverse engineering. Don't have a developer background, but you can read source code. Like forward. To a certain extent, they're kind of two sides of the same coin, like forward and reverse engineering, because you kind of have to know one to know the other. I would say if you're interested in reverse engineering, and that's kind of reverse engineering at a low level, like the assembly level. Obviously, you can kind of reverse engineer like obfuscated scripts and stuff like that. Is you kind of really need to know, have a decent understanding of like how a computer works. You kind of need to know what the calling conventions and registers and stacks and heaps and that kind of thing. And once you kind of got a rough idea of that, you can then kind of start to basically see how a compiler would translate your code to that. So I would definitely say start off learning some C. I think because C is a comparatively simple language compared to something like C++. Use a tool like Godbolt, write some C code, like see how it translates to assembly, and then kind of start going back and forth there. And I think once you kind of get a feel for that, that's a pretty good spot to be in. And then from there, what I would recommend is something like war games, where you get to actually have sort of challenges set out which force you to read assembly to kind of attain a certain goal. My personal favorite is IO. So io.net garage or garage.org. This has a whole bunch of amazing reverse engineering challenges, starting off from very easy all the way up to unbelievably difficult and absolutely mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing, I think. Yeah, so that's a good resource to actually start. And that's basically how I learnt GDB. I got good at GDB by basically playing that game. Material is an abstraction over a shader. So yes, you can kind of think of it as a shader, but it is our abstraction over the top of it. Okay, so that's kind of what we expected, I think. Hopefully people can agree that the camera is now static, but it's there. So I guess we can kind of prove to ourselves this works by moving the camera over a bit. So if we move the camera to the right, the thing should appear to the left. Yes. But we're still, I almost declared a bug there, and then I remembered the misery that we had 2 streams ago. It's still looking at the center, so effectively what I've done is rotate the camera around. So I think that is right. We've moved the camera to the right, but still looking at the center. Yeah. I'm glad you've been enjoying the series. Thank you very much. And yeah, I try and stream every Wednesday and Sunday for a couple of hours each time. But again, it's nice to kind of mix things up and do some extra ones because, different people have different schedules, and it's nice to get extra people along. Is GDB a good option on Windows? GDB, as far as I'm aware, will not work on Windows. And outside of WSL, you'll have to use x64 debug or, other debuggers that are around. OpenGL ? Sure. Okay, so what's next? We need to make the camera. I suppose a good first thing is to actually commit up what we've been doing. Nope, that's so what we've done. We've add camera class and then integrate camera class. Yeah, I'm glad you. Yeah, so someone's saying that they've also started playing around with OpenGL, and it's this is an interesting chance for them to see how people do things differently. I'm very honest that I am not a graphics programmer by trade. It's a hobbyist interest to me, so I will make mistakes and I will make incorrect assumptions. So it's take what I do with a pinch of salt, but do feel free to compare what you've done against what I've done, and I don't know, reach out to me. I've got an email address on the channel, and let me know how you're getting on. The problem with writing your own keygen things is once you know the answer, it's kind of very hard to not know the answer again. So yeah. There's a new video coming out today. In fact, I'm probably going to release it at the end of the stream. So do hang around to the end, and then I'll release the video. I mean, I'm going to release it anyway, so you don't have to hang around. But it'd be great if you did. New video, low level, early 2000s game, obscure game no one's heard of. Direct draw. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so I think now. Oh yes, members have already seen it. AC has already seen it. Thank you for spreading the good word. Okay, let's do a scene, because I think then we kind of got the interface is kind of what I want, which is render a scene with a camera, and a scene is going to be super simple to start with. Again, like someone mentioned earlier, we might need inheritance. We might want a frustrum culled scene or an oct tree scene, but for the moment, a scene is literally just going to be a bag of things. Oh, actually, we need a thing to put in the bag first, don't we? So let's do an entity. Entity.c.h. Private once. Namespace game. And this is not entities in entity component system. This is just it's absolutely not a node entity either. This is just what I'm going to call a thing. I basically call it a renderable entity, but that's just too much typing. A thing that can be rendered. How do I like to do error handling? This comes up all the time, and it's a very divisive topic in C++. I personally think the correct way to do error handling is with exceptions. I will go through my spiel again, as I always do when this comes up. It's part of the language. The language doesn't make sense without exceptions. It's literally in the core guidelines to use exceptions. And basically, if you get to a point where you're in a function, your preconditions have been met, but you cannot... there's an ad. There is an ad, and someone asked Twitch that. I will come back to that after the ad. I guess I'll keep typing for people who are not seeing the ad. I'm kind of getting used to this. I know YouTube inserts ads. I don't know how it works. So we'll wait 10 seconds, then we'll come back. Thank you very much for sticking it out. I'm curious to know, when you come back from the ad on Twitch, do you come back to the point still live? It doesn't sort of buffer it up and then you're kind of like the ad's length behind. Okay. Imagine you write some code, you're in a function, the preconditions, live, thanks. The preconditions have been met, okay? I'm going to get this cut up into a short again, I can feel it. The preconditions have been met, but something has happened and you cannot meet the post conditions of that function. Arguably, an error has occurred. If you cannot realistically or in any sensible way handle the error in the current scope such that you can still proceed with the function, then you have to communicate that the error has occurred. Obviously, you can return a bool or an optional or an expected or an error code, but if your caller also cannot handle that, they will then have to tramp that data all the way up to the call stack, all the way up the call stack until someone can handle it, which is exactly the problem an exception deals with. You throw, someone catches it, deals with it, and you get on with your life. Also, it's the only way for communicating errors from a constructor, so you kind of have to use them there. Otherwise, you have to have private constructors and factory methods, and you're kind of just like doing loads and loads of chuff to avoid using exceptions when they are probably the right choice. So yeah, that's my view on it. But it's not a view shared by everyone. A lot of people don't like exceptions. There are downsides. It's not perfect, right? They do involve like a heap allocation, and they are cheap to not throw, but expensive to throw. So there are considerations to do, but that's my view on it. Okay, so what's an entity going to be? An entity is probably going to be a model and a material, right? Yeah, if you're embedded dev, then do you know what I mean? Like, but you're already probably using a subset of the language. What I don't like doing is defining arbitrary subsets of the language. You know, we're not going to use exceptions because we don't like them. Isn't a great compelling reason for me. Like, we're not going to use exceptions because literally the hardware that we are on doesn't support them. That seems fine. So, for me, it's not defining arbitrary subsets of a language. Like, you don't have to use everything in C++, but don't exclude it. Anyway, rant over. So the entity, I think, should own the model data, but I don't think it should own the material because we might want to use the same material for multiple objects. So I think this is going to need to have a mesh, which we've already built, and a model. And a material. Okay. Auto is auto type deduction, so it will deduce the type for this variable based on whatever's on the right-hand side of the equal side, effectively. It's not a generic... it's because C++ is chronically short of keywords. It is used... If you use it as a parameter in a function, then it is a generic type and it's treated the same as a template. But for a variable declaration, then it just means deduce whatever's on the right-hand side. So it's the equivalent of var in C#, or I guess let in JavaScript and TypeScript. So this should have a mesh, but I believe it should have a pointer to a material. I don't think it wants to own the material. I think it wants to own the model. We could make it non-owning for both, but then who owns them? Do we want to make it non-owning for both? I think we might want to make it non-owning for both, actually. I think we want to say, because if I want to render the same cube twice, which is ultimately where we want to get to, I don't want to have that mesh data loaded twice. So I think pointer question mark, and then it will need some sort of transformation as well. It will need its model. So matrix 4, and then this will have matrix 4. Now here's the question: the entity, we are going to want to talk to it in terms of position and rotation, or a translation and orientation. The fact that it needs to be converted to a matrix is irrelevant to the user, so I guess we will just have like translate and rotate methods on it, and then again we'll have a way of getting the data out. I think that's what I want. Again, like as you can see, I'm figuring a lot of this out as I go along, and I'm prepared to make some mistakes. Yeah, I think we're gonna have. Well, yeah, we'd need getters and possibly setters for the translate and rotate, but under the hood that will be codified as a matrix. We will then need to do a decompose method, so we will need to be able to decompose a matrix into the separate components. But I've got some code for that somewhere. I've definitely done that before. Yeah, we don't want to be. Yeah, I think Sam's got a great point there. We don't want to be recalculating this every frame. We only want to calculate it when it is changed, and that is through the interface that we provide for translating and rotating. Okay, I think we got there. I think we got there. So entity is going to take a. These should be. Oh my goodness. Const. The pointers themselves are not const, but they point to const data, right? I don't want to be able to mutate the material or the model from within the entity. I don't know. I've put the yes, before someone says it, I know I put the const in the wrong one. I'm way ahead of you. I made the mistake and then I saw it. So const mesh. Okay, so we got that. And then we're going to have auto model const std span const float. I think so. An entity is going to be a non-owning container for a mesh and a material, and then the respective model matrix for that. Sure. I mean, it sounds great. It was so good, I deleted it. Where's it gone? Yes, source entity.cpp hash include entity.h namespace game, and then yoink these, grab my headers, grab my includes, and then entity, and then entity, entity, and then from here we'll have mesh, material, and then model will be just the identity matrix to start with. So here's a pro tip if you never know where the const, careful how I say that, here's the pro tip if you never know where the const should be for pointers. You read it right to left. So this is a pointer to a material that is const. Const is, and I'm not going to get into east-west const east and all that nightmare, const is left binding unless it's the only thing on the left, in which case it binds to the right. So this just means a pointer to a const material, a pointer to a const mesh. If I had this would then be a constant pointer to a constant mesh, i.e. I cannot reseat this. This just means I cannot mutate the object on the other side of it. I can only call const methods on it. So yeah. Don't know if that, hopefully that helps. But now we can extend this as we need to. Like I said, as we need to. We don't need to at the moment. When there's when we need to, move it around in 3D space. And then back to our CMake, so entity.cpp, check this blends. Cool, it likes that. Yep, definitely built it. Okay. So now we need a scene. And again, keep it super simple. And I think really all we need is entity, and then our scene will just be a stirred vector of entity pointers, right? Maybe even const. Maybe even const. Right? Because this is all it is. Scene is just a collection of things you want to render, and as we go forward, we'll need to expand scene to maybe do filtering and ordering and have maybe some sort of say in the entities that it will get rendered. If we want to do frustum culling, for example. But I think to start with, like, let's just have a bag of entities. And then we go back to main. Close this down so we can see what we're doing. Get rid of that, apparently I don't need it. Hash include scene and hash include entity. So new to the streaming channel, welcome. Thank you for coming along. Glad you're here. And glad you're enjoying it as well. I hope you stick around. Do I have a game in mind? And when does... So, first question, do I have a game in mind? I have, like, a kind of ish sort of game in mind for maybe, like, a simple, like, block sliding puzzle game. We'll see how we get... So I do have kind of a rough end goal there. Like, I have a couple, like, a puzzle game with, like, maybe one or two interesting mechanics that we can maybe build, like, a handful of levels out of. When designing, as this is my experience in other engines, or was it when designing objects using that or your experience in other engines. So I have written an engine before and it's okay, but it's not great, and there's a lot of architectural decisions that I wish I hadn't made. So this is mostly me kind of learning from that as I go along and just sort of trying to figure out as we go along. Apparently I do need log. I'm kind of strange. Very strange. Will it be a modern-ish looking game or not? So I want to have... I think it will use modern rendering techniques, but the actual artistic style is kind of still TBC because I'm not an artist, so I'll have to outsource the assets. But I want it to have HDR. I want it to have gamma correction. I want it to have SSAO. I want to have some sort of anti-aliasing. I want to have sort of screen space reflections if possible, and bloom for better or worse, or at least the ability to do bloom. So those are the kind of things that I want to get to in our kind of when we build out our renderer pipeline. We might be able to, I don't know if you, it's an interesting point about procedure generation and puzzle games, because you have to make sure the puzzle is solvable, right? So I suspect it'll be handcrafted, but we will see. We will see. In fact, I don't even want to be in this file. I want to be in the renderer file. So now I can do hash include scene. And then I can get rid of the mesh and get rid of material because this no longer needs these. These will all be external. So I drop the constructor entirely. And in fact, renderer is just going to drop down to probably just a pure function, which is interesting. We'll need probably state in the future, but for now, it's just const scene. It's already on GitHub. I guess the question is, at what level will I release it? And that is still TBC, because if it does transpire that I could make a game from this, then I might not want to release the source code. If it turns out that it's not going to be a game I want to release, then I'll release the source code. Or maybe I'll release it at some point and then fork it when it looks like it might become a game. I don't really know. I'm just kind of playing it safe at the moment. But I would like to release at least some of this. What I do is I tag in the repo at the end of each stream, so I know where we got to each point. So it might be that I kind of just take a subset of those tags and release it for people to have a look at. I entered Lud and Dare with my old engine once. I didn't do very well because it was also I cross-compiled it using mscripting for WebAssembly so it could run in a browser. It was interesting. Okay, right. So I don't need material. I don't need. Oh well. Do need OpenGL. Don't need matrix, do need camera, don't need vector, don't need CNET, don't need that. And now we just have to include scene. And I guess probably include entity as well. Okay, so render, so get rid of all this. Chuff, 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 chuff. Const scene. Scene. And now we can do clear it for const auto entity in scene dot entities. Do that, and now const auto material equals entity. Oh, do I not have a way of getting the material out? Or the mesh. You know what? I can't get anything out. What a useless class this is. This was probably about 10 years ago when I was playing with mscripting and WebAssembly, so I have no idea what the current state of it is. It could be Pong. Could even be Pong. It's hard to say at this point. Okay, right. So now, obviously, this will be a link error until I actually implement those methods. But we can need to do const auto mesh equals entity mesh, and then so that, and then get rid of that because the model uniform will be so we'll still need to get uniform and then do material native handle, and then material native handle, and then material native handle. That gets those three. Then the model data will be entity model dot. I think it's just one dot data now. And then mesh just needs to be bind. And then again, at some point we'll need to abstract this away because we don't want just this random hard-coded 36. But that will be part of the mesh. Okay, so things I like. This is now a lot simpler. It kind of just iterates over. It kind of doesn't care about what is in the scene or what the camera is. It just kind of takes those in and deals with it. What I don't like is this. Use program can be a reasonably expensive OpenGL call. It involves a massive state change. So really, we should only be setting this once and then effectively not setting it until it changes. For rendering a single cube or multiple cubes, I'm kind of happy to leave that in at the moment, but it's something to maybe come back and change in the future. Oh, I'm going to get a linker error, aren't I? And whatever all this is. What is how I've not changed log. How is this? So I check the git logs. So interesting questions. Should the camera be part of the scene? I want it to not be, because I might want to render the same scene from multiple cameras, and I feel those are two distinct sort of areas of responsibility. So I really don't understand what. Nothing has changed in log, right? I've not changed the log file at all. I mean, there's multiple ways we can architect this, right? I'm just going what makes sense now. Like, doesn't mean in the future we won't change it. What is going on? I've not changed log.h. What's online? Hey. Argument alias class template arguments. Argument don't only allow for class templates, but this is a class template, right? Info. The deduction code template contains a template parameter that cannot be deduced. But these might be stood out, messed up. Entity creates issues with log. Oh, there's some stuff here in main, so yeah, it doesn't. In render 68. So obviously, yeah, that won't work anymore. That's fine. We just create the renderer. Let's just remove the log from here, I guess, and then we'll come back to that later, because it's not really fixing the issue I want to fix. Although, interestingly, let's have a look in the entity header files. If I miss something here, yeah, I think you might be right. I think one of these files is, you see that, or is there a circular dependency? That's the entity. Scene looks good. Too many error emitted stopping now. Yeah, it's definitely something weird is afoot. Let's okay, that's fine. This is what we expect. Renderer takes one argument because I've not done it. So let's put back in entity. That is fine. So let's put back in scene. That's fine. Let's put back in log. weird. Sorry, okay, fine. So log and take out entity. Okay, right. So it's something to do with, it doesn't like entity and include it before log. So what have I done in entity? Pragma once, include span, include material, include matrix, include mesh. That looks pretty cromulent to me. Entity CPP is here. It is missing these methods, but I'm very surprised that didn't look like a linker error to me. That looked like a compiler error. I mean, I'll add them now because we're going to need to add them anyway. But these are compiler errors, so syntax error missing before constant undeclared. This is very strange to me. Very strange indeed. Because log 16 is error. Why is it not like error? What have I brought in that would cause that as a conflict? Potentially. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I've not. All I've done is bring in other things that I've already. Unless span brings it in, which seems very unlikely because it all should be. Well, I guess we're going to fix this now. So good job. We got some extra. Good job. We got some extra time today. So I'll fix this. This looks like a missing token, right? Because it's like, you're missing, I'm expecting this here. So I've clearly included something a priori to this that doesn't like it. And then, here we go, scene, syntax error, missing before that, scene 8. But that's because it's included entity.h. It's definitely something in entity.h it doesn't like. Has anyone seen it? I don't think there's a circular... Is it a circular dependency? Is it circular dependency in main because it brings in... Well, I don't... I'm trying to think where the circular dependency is, if there is one, because entity will bring it... Scene will bring in entity, which will bring in material, matrix, and mesh, and I don't think any of these reference entity, right? I mean, break them just in case. Strange. I guess... So entity.h. Is it this? Is it renderer brings in entity, which brings in scene? Right, okay, fine. That's the CPP file, so... that shouldn't matter. I guess that's just for the avoidance of doubt. And then this will now need access to mesh and to material. That is fine. I should have probably included those anyway. So again, not taking my own advice and then actually being bitten by the consequences of transitive includes. Okay. Doesn't take, right. Okay. So there was a circular dependency. That's fine. We've broken it by forward declaring the entity type, which is fine. No worries. I'm going to wait for the Twitch ad break to be over so I can explain that to the people who would have missed it. The first time chat saying the Formula One's finished and they're coming to join in now. Excellent, thank you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, if you're back from the Twitch ad break, 1, thank you very much for sticking through the ad break, and 2, the issue was the circular dependency. Scene was including entity, which I think was including entity was including scene, which was then including entity, so it was getting very confused with itself. So broken it by using by forward declaring a type, and that is a-okay. I've been doing this professionally for I've been making and breaking software for about a decade now. This I just kind of do as a hobby. Okay, let's go back to main and start fixing things up. So we want const auto model equals game model. And then have I included model? I have not. So bring a model. And then our camera, and then we need a scene, don't we? So auto scene equals game scene, and then dot entities. I need to declare the entity first, don't I? So const auto entity equals game entity, and that was what do we say it was? A model and a material, and then the entities can have our single entity. See if that blends. Almost certainly won't. Can open file model.h, no such. Pretty sure it does. Oh, is it mesh? That's why it's mesh, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. We're not doing model loading yet. So this should be mesh. Okay. And I should probably also call that mesh. And I'll change that to that, and then that to that, this to that to the other. See if it builds. Renderer does not take one argument. It certainly does not. You are absolutely right. So now we should be able to render that scene from that camera. Boom. Exactly the same as we had before. So I think the next thing to do is to stick another couple of cubes in there. Then I've just noticed something. Apologies. It looks the tool that I have for combining the chat seems to have dropped the Twitch chat. I'm sorry. I very much like it's. If it seems like I'm ignoring you, I do apologise. I've just realised that you're not popping up on my tool. Why is that? Hold on one moment while I see if I can fix that, because otherwise I've got to get whiplash. Keep checking the two separate chats. Let me just try quitting that. See what happens. Okay, I think we're back. At least the message that I sent on Twitch seems to now appear. If someone, because if I know it sounds like I'm trying to fudge the engagement factor, but if a couple people could type some messages. Okay, Queco, I can see you again. Thank you very much. Much appreciated it. Apologies that you disappeared. You're just going to have to type out all your questions again. And now hopefully I can also see people on YouTube as well. I'll wait for someone to send a message on YouTube. Okay, so let's see if we can get another cube in. How are we going to do this? So the entity will need to have a position. So let's do const vector3 position. Don't know why I put those code brackets on the end. Why was it a circular dependency? So we had it. To be honest, I can't remember what we had now. Circular dependencies will occur in the translation unit. So ultimately, there was a CPP file that was including something that was including something that was including something. It might have even been main itself, because it was including scene, which was including it was including renderer, which was including scene. I don't know. I'd have to go back and have a look. Yeah, I think main including scene including renderer, which both included entity. Although pragma, but then that won't be a circular dependency because pragma will fix that. It's only a circular dependency if they are. They can both include it, but it's only if one of those then includes something that's already previously been included. Yeah, don't know. No, I've never really dabbled. No, so that's a lie. I have dabbled in lang dev, but it's just a lot of effort for kind of minimal return, I think, for me personally. Like, it's an interesting problem, and you kind of learn a lot about how compilers work by building one, which I've done, but it's not a project I would sort of keep going, if that makes sense. Any new opinions on the train return type? It's okay. What was that? It's okay. Is all I can say so far, but I'm committed to it. Thank you, Thrasher, or Sly Thrasher, for subscribing with Prime. Very much appreciated. Okay, so we've got an entity. Let's write some code. So this is going to have a position. And then we need to add that here. 3 const vector 3 position, and then model will be matrix for I believe we already have a constructor for matrix 4 which takes a position, which will then create a translation matrix. So does that mean we can now go to main and then vector 3, nope, not there. Oh Christ, what's going on? So the entity here as game vector3 dot x equals 0.0f dot y equals 0.0f dot z equals 0.0f. Okay, let's call this the very imaginative name entity1, and then we'll do entity2, and then we'll stick this up a bit. Whoa, there was no reason for the code to explode like that. What have I missed? Here we go. I've included vector2 twice in TCP. Clang format should strip that out for me, but I will go double check in a second. So stick that there, and then do 1 and entity 2. Okay. A lot of mechanics today. A lot of abstractions. Obviously, doesn't like that. Syntax error. Where's my syntax error? What are you talking about? Entity 17. Ah. Thank you. Good spot. Outline definition entity, and then entity 8 should have because it's not a reference, which makes sense. I also should be able to. I realise I should be able to do type deduction as well. I'm unaware of what this means, but apparently there is a hype train incoming, and I can only assume that is good news. So thank you very much for whatever dials and levers you've pulled to make that pop up on my screen. It's very exciting. I will do some research on how to kind of best... The reason I don't want too much overlaid on the screen is because I do want to... One, I want them to kind of... be available as like easiest to consume VODs, but I do want to eventually cut up some of this into more sort of like a tutorial style, like, just take all the technical bits out, and so I don't really want too much overlay stuff on that. So we'll see. But then I don't know what that looks like for you on Twitch in terms of your current UI. I assume all the stuff that's all the lights and the bells and the whistles you can kind of see without me adding them as an overlay. But do let me know. Sam subscribed. Prime, thank you very much. Much appreciated. 6 out of 10. I don't know what I get when I get that 10, but I'm 60% of the way there. Where is my syntax error? Oh, have I put too many brackets? You need several subs or bits from different people with a certain amount of time to trigger a hype train. Gives emote unlocks with Twitch depending on the level. Excellent. Well, enjoy the extra emotes. I have some custom emotes that I made for YouTube, and I will upload those to Twitch when I get a chance as well. Again, I don't think it's laziness on my part. I'm just kind of figuring out. Twitch is kind of very much new to me. I pretty much live my life on YouTube, so I'm figuring a lot of this out as I go along. But there's a whole bunch of you here, and I appreciate it. So indeed. GG. You've nearly spelt my surname there. We just need a few more emotes, and then we can spell that. I'm gonna get grumpy with this in a minute because I really can't see what I've done wrong. Const vector 3 ref position. That is literally the constructor, like. And then mesh material and matrix 4. In fact, actually, I probably don't even need that. It will figure it out. Oh, in fact, actually, can I just pass that straight in? What am I doing? Am I being silly? It's only allowed on constructor definitions. Oh. I'm not, somewhat embarrassingly, and I'm absolutely going to not include that in a short, but I did forget to save the file. But, no one's perfect. No one's perfect. I'm never going to... don't think I'm even going to read that comment out, but thank you, Professor Chaos, for that insight. I think in fact that is actually a violation of the terms and services if I do that. Okay. I didn't get another cube, which is somewhat upsetting. What have I just made it too high up? Let's see, where are we at? So let's move, so that's the camera, so the entity should be a little bit higher. Let's just move that down a bit. Wow. Yes, we don't have to talk about what happened, what is below the standing desk. It's a long boy. It's just, it's not an adult cube, it's 3 child cubes standing on top of their shoulders wearing a trench coat. So let's move that up just a little. Let's move that down a bit. Now that we have a full 3D scene we can control, which is exciting, we can move stuff wherever we want. Sweet, okay. So I'm pretty well. Let's comment this up, okay? Let's get this commented because I think we've made some pretty good progress here. So commit, add entity class, and then main renderer. Nope. Commit, add scene struct. Commit. Yes, good point, Harand. Thank you very much. We'll try, try to be inclusive to both viewing communities, and I'm sure I'll be influenced by both in their own unique, interesting ways. Yeah, so good question. Do I plan to have some sort of external scene format so I don't have to recompile every time for quick tests? It'd be nice to get there, to have some sort of like level loader, maybe driven from like a YAML file or something. We'll see how we get on. So integrate scene and entity classes. Okay, I'm very pleased with that. That's for an hour and a half's work. I think that's actually pretty good. And let's just tidy up some of this. We don't need this. And then I do want log game log info. Hello world. Just check that builds. Okay, quick pause for comments. Don't want to distract me from my current task. Don't worry, I'm very easily distracted. You don't have to worry about that. Would you be interested, entertain the idea of reverse engineering an Amiga game that you are interested in? What I would say is there on the YouTube channel, somewhere in the About section, there is an email address that is kind of public. Feel free to send me any details of things that you might find interesting. I provide zero guarantee that I'll have time to look at it, but I do maintain a list in all the comments and emails and everything I get. I've got like a list of potential project ideas that people have suggested, and I'm happy to put that on there. So yeah, let me know. Again, I can't promise, but the next video that is being published after this stream came from an email that I was sent from a viewer, so it does happen. Vin says, yeah, good evening. Bonus stream today. I'm hoping to still stream normally tomorrow, but I had some extra time today and I wanted to do a slightly longer stream, so glad you could come along. This is just a bonus one. Really, I'm going to say this is kind of testing out the Twitch affiliate settings as well. Yes, you're right. I could combine those into the same command. That was a good point. Maybe we'll do that. Okay, so let's see where we are at. Yeah, feel free to watch back later. Okay, so we've got a camera class, we've got a scene class, we've got an entity class, we've got a mesh model, we've got all these nice primitives, so we don't have to worry too much about the sort of too much of the OpenGL chuff. Let's have a look. What's in our notes? So maths and camera is kind of done. We've got a scene, so we do need to render with indices. We do need to improve the OpenGL. We potentially need to do mesh loading. We do need to do lights. We do need to do resource. This is a grab bag of ideas. This is not a top to bottom to do list. This is not. It's not a Jira board. It does have a typo in it. I think what we want to do next. Got plenty of time. I'm planning on doing this for a few hours today, so we can probably tick off a few of these things. We probably need to do the indexed rendering at some point, and then we'll need to put in normals, and then we can think about doing lighting. I also want something to be moving around. Yeah, I think moving the controller, moving the camera is more important because it will allow us to kind of have some more interesting scenes. So let's do some event handling. So I'm talking to you, I'm talking to everyone. Yeah, I've just got amazing foresight. Basically what I do is I just guess what everyone's going to say, and so far it's always worked out. Or I just say that whatever question I'm answering came from the other chat where they can't verify it, where you can't verify it, and then it just seems pre-recorded. Okay, so we've got a window proc. At the moment, when we key down, we just say WM key down. So at the moment, if I move this over here and I go absolutely ham on the keyboard, I get all the key down events. So what we need to do, there's a couple of things we need to do. One, we need to propagate this out of the Windows proc handler, the Windows message handler, and two, we need to abstract it. So I guess let's do that. Okay, so we're going to want several events. Okay, so this is how I've done it before. Am I stood up or sat down? Back or legs or standing? So I brought a standing desk because I feel like I can be more engaging and a bit more emotive by standing up. And so far, for a sort of 2.5 hour stream, standing up, been pretty cool. We're going to try for a little bit longer today and see how we get on. A camera event handler. So I'm keeping it simple to start with. Maybe we need some sort of like crazy event handling system later on. For the moment, keeping it simple. So what I want to do, and this is how I did it in my previous engine, for better or worse, is the hello, computer? Is the running. This basically needs to become pump event, and this should just produce the next event from the window handler, and then the caller, like the game, can handle that as needed. I'm keeping it single threaded to start with. I think that I would probably parallelize it if needed and use like the sort of scatter gather approach. So when something can easily be decomposed down into parallelizable tasks, have a little job scheduler with like, a little thread pool where I can say, hey, just solve these in parallel, or even use like the parallel algorithms and then kind of bring the results back together. I'm not thinking in terms of multi-threading at the moment. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure someone knows, I don't think OpenGL particularly likes multi-threaded code. I think you have to submit all the OpenGL calls from the main thread. Yeah, and this is going to be something small, and the problem is I have a reasonably powerful PC, so I think I could probably just churn through a lot of inefficient code. So at some point I'll release like an alpha of this and get people to test it, and we can see how we go. This is not going to be like AAA. This is not going to be super resource intensive. So I think we can kind of get away with. I'm hoping we can get away with things being simpler and therefore easier to work on. I will tidy up the source directory at some point as well, because like just having all the files in there, I feel like they could probably be structured a little bit better. But for the moment, we'll keep just shoving everything in one directory because that's the simple approach. So I'm going to have one event called a stop event. So I'm not going to multi-class events because I don't see any. I cannot currently see a need to handle them polymorphically. Like I need to be able to return any event, and then the caller needs to kind of be able to inspect what that type was. But there's going to be no common interface between them. I'm just going to have that is not the order I like to include them in. I'm going to have a variant of all possible event types, and that's what we're going to return. That's the design I'm going to start with. We'll see how we get on with it. So, do you think your coding style will change in general? Or is this a one-off for this specific instance? I think my coding style is always evolving. I'm always looking to kind of be better and learn more and try new different things. The advantage of me having this kind of code base that we're doing live is it gives me a chance to experiment a lot more with things that, you know, I might not normally do or use. So that's kind of my view on that. Alright. Just seeing. Okay, so I've got to stop. So basically, sorry, I was just looking up something, just double checking how I wanted to do something. So this is going to peek all the messages, and basically I need to transform these into the ones that we care about into engine specific events, and then we can pull those out from the window. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Yes, so let's change the window class to be not running, but yeah, we want stop, keyboard, mouse, and maybe resize events. Yeah, those are the ones we want to start with. I'm probably just going to do stop and keyboard to start with. Might go on to mouse later if we get time. The problem is that we haven't done quaternion yet, which means rotating stuff's going to be a bit of a pain. So we kind of got a little bit more groundwork to do there. But let's get stuff like strafing first. There's a new reverse engineering video out today. After the stream, I'm going to release it, and then I'm going to highly encourage everyone to go watch it. So do I want to pump single events, or do I want to pump all events? No, I have a job as a software engineer. This is not my full-time gig. This is just a hobby, but it takes up all my time. Twitch ad. I'm just gonna whilst the Twitch people are having an ad, I'm gonna muse on this. I'm trying to think what's better? Do I want, or do I even care? Do I want to just pump a single event because this could produce multiple messages synchronously? So this is going to call, this could dispatch multiple messages. So I need to be able to consume them all at the end. So I think actually what I want, rather than optional, is a vector. Depends if you want multiple key presses in one frame or not really. That is a good point. Let's I'm gonna keep it simple actually. Let's just handle one event per frame, and we'll queue them up internally, and we'll basically just pump more messages and drop them off per one. I think that's what I want. Yeah, I think that'd be. I think that's what I want. You know what? That's what we're gonna go for. So we may or may not get an event. All right. Oh, apologies if I missed your message. So you're a C developer but would like to learn C++, especially about templates. Any good books that might help you understand that? I mean, there is the C++ template book. It's pretty expensive and it's a bit of a beast, but this has this, like, if you want an entire book just on templates, this is the one. Other than that, I can't think of any specific guides for templates because they can start off quite simple, right? You want to write a min and a max, and then you might want to write some sort of like fixed array, like a class type which is templated. So you can kind of build up from there. But yeah, C++ templates, the complete guide is probably the most comprehensive written material just on templates. It was off the camera view. Oh, sorry. I have to put it right in front of my face. What? There's a little bit of delay, so I think I got it. I mean, you don't have to read it off this. It's just called it's a beast. It's just called C++ Templates, the complete guide. So, yeah. C++ Templates. I think it's cheap because I can't imagine they print many of them. Okay, so return G. So we're not going to want this G running anymore. I'm just going to return an empty event. And now, because this is a free function, we will still have to use a little bit of a global variable, which is a bit of a pain. But what we can do is UE, and then we have G event Q equals Q event. Game event, and then here we can stop event.h, and then here into this queue we can do g event q dot emplace game stop event. Yeah, it's over in the UK. That book's over 50 quid, so it's not cheap. Yes, Coldrick, the game is going to. It's sure is going to rival Cyberpunk and RimWorld. I can like that. You got to aim big. Game event should return stood optional event. Does it? It does, doesn't it? Well, I mean, it doesn't at the moment, but it will do. So now what we can basically do is while actually, oh, is there not? I'm curious actually. Is there a or not stood? Is there a stood range is empty? There is. There's absolutely no I mean, if you wanted to be write generic code, you would use that, but I'm kind of curious to see if it works. Const auto event equals g event queue dot front, then g event queue dot pop, then return event. I think that's right, because with C++ queues, the pop cannot return the element. This is a void method, so you have to get it first, take a copy of it, and then pop it. So now, yeah, because oh, value. You're right. It doesn't have to be. No, you're right. Thank you. Good spot. If. Thank you. Good spot. If the event queue isn't empty, take the first element and then return it, and then we'll just keep, because we're going to call this every frame. We'll be pushing more messages to the back of the queue, and then we'll just yield the next one each time. Good spot. Because what I was thinking one step ahead, because we have a while loop here. So while, so in fact, actually now, auto running equals true, while running, I want to do, I guess, while const auto event equals window dot pump event. Do I want to pump multiple ones each frame, or is that coming back to the same issue we had before where we didn't want that? Do I just want to pump one frame? So in fact, actually, if const auto event handle the event, and then at the end of this we do R rendering. The only reason other viewers can read the code and find the errors is just because I write a lot of errors. Like, there's just plenty of low-hanging fruit for people to pick. So you have a templated function, way to put it in the CPU file. So you can put headers in the CPU file if you fully specialize them, which kind of means that you then need to know all the possible template arguments ahead of time. Otherwise, you'll have to. But then I think your question is slightly different, because then you say you just don't want to include the Windows header file because you want to use Pimple. So that's, I think, might be a slightly different problem. So all events should be processed before or after the frame update. So all pending events. So in fact, actually, while stood optional game event nope, no. Auto event equals window dot Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, with that, and then while event, and then we can at the end of this we can do event equals window dot pump event. I don't really like that double call thing, but I think that might be what we want. In fact, so then what we can do is, let's bring in some headers that we know we need. We need event, and then we're going to need variant, and then we're going to need stop event. I don't like condition like loops with side effects like declare, but unless they are specifically structured like the if statement. But I guess I guess there's no reason you couldn't do while const event equals window dot pump event. I just don't really like that. I don't really like the ones that have a side effect. Because what I really want to do is then have the the C++17 if statement extension, which allows you to have a conditional at the end. But I don't think they support that in while loops. I'm going to keep with what I had, just because I prefer it. Okay, so, and then we can do one of the worst parts of C++ is std visit. We're going to I'm just going to cheat and catch everything. Auto arg event, because then we need to do using t equals std decay t decal type arg, I think, because we want to strip out const and ref and all those sort of stuff. We want to just get the actual underlying type. And then we can just do if const, hang on, I need to bring in type traits. So if const expra std same as t game stop event, right? I think, and then we can just set running to equal false. I think that's right. While event and running, we'll need that there as well, because we want to basically just say we've stopped. Let's not handle any more events. We're quite far away from working on a game at the moment. I'm doing custom Windows event handling, which I think is fun. So heavy use of std visit drove 90% of your parser code, replacing function array variant index yielded a 40% increase. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I just find it very unintuitive. Like, I've used it recently, which is why this is in my mind. I have to look this up every time I do it because I can never remember. I know there's multiple ways of doing it. You can define an object with multiple call operators for all the different types, blah, blah, blah. I just want to keep it simple. This will remember. I'm not that fussed about rendering one more scene. That is a... yeah, so I'm not that fussed. Okay, so we've got our scene. Now in theory, pressing X should now close the game, and should then put the stop event on the queue. That should get pumped. It should pick that up and go, oh, you want to stop the game, and the game should stop. Don't want to say. I don't know what to say. Couldn't be easier. Christ. Okay, fine. So now I need the Windows keys, which are of type something. Just going to look this up. Windows key codes. So let's go to main. Sorry, it's not. Let's go to window. Bring in our log code, which we wrote and have not really used much since. And then key down. Game log debug key press, and then from this I believe it in this case it's the W param, I think is the key code in WinProc. No, that's not what I wanted. I want to build it. It definitely doesn't like something about this log code we wrote. What is... It definitely doesn't like something about it. Why not holds alternative? I want... You could use holds alternative as well. I just want something which is kind of like, if this do this, if this do this, if this do this. I guess you could... Why would you not use holds alternative? There's probably no reason. I just wanted to use visit. Right. What is up with this log function? Like, this was something we wrote pretty quickly at the end of a stream, and I can't really see any issue with it. The only thing I can think of is it doesn't like this print. I mean, there is a stud print, but these are in separate namespaces. Right, let's have a look. So it's got some issues here. Yeah, what is this? What hole? Is it the null pointer handling? Where are you seeing this? In the error. No accept 274 cannot convert argument from int to stud null to t. So, but I think that's a symptom, not a cause, because if you go to window, where we actually event can only be a type of event. So what I think it's done is if you look at the preceding error messages, it's like undeclared identifier. What this happened is, I believe if C++ doesn't know the type, it kind of... I think this is like a legacy thing where, maybe even from C, where like functions were assumed to return int if you didn't specify the type. So this is basically saying, I don't know what it is, and I've tried an int and that didn't work either. Because all these are undeclared identifiers, it doesn't know what any of these are, and it's to do with including log. It's literally to do with including log.h, right? If we delete this, right, and then delete this, and then I build it and not run it. Yeah. That works, okay. And is it? So I guess the question is it the mere act of bringing this in? So it's the mere act of bringing, there's like a syntax error or something in here. Deduction guide template contains a template parameter that cannot be deduced. Nope, okay. I don't understand why it doesn't like that deduction guide. It's literally the exact thing I wanted, right? When you pass this many args, when you pass this variable number of args after the level, deduce that to be the template args, which then allows us to have a defaulted one at the end for the source line. Is it? I mean, I'd be absolutely horrified if this was the case. Yeah, it did work fine before. It worked fine before. Level is just an enum class, right? It's so you define the level using XX for all 4 cases. Yes, debug info warn error, debug info warn error, debug info warn error. It's not, L isn't generic, right? It's a non-type, I always get this wrong around, it's a non-type template parameter, a non-template type, whatever the one around it is, it's a non-type template parameter. It's an enum class. And then I've got all these aliases, so when I want to debug, it should just forward those on. Why? I do find it strange. I would expect this to be like that. I don't think that's the issue. But also what's strange, right, is that the first error it's come across is like log H line 16, missing before constant, missing blah, 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 missing all this, right? But line 16 is this. Unless it doesn't like error. Someone somewhere has very egregiously and very unfairly already defined an error macro which is then getting expanded out. Oh, gross. Yeah, I could run... I don't know if the preprocessor will tell you where the source of it is, though. That is... I hope everyone can empathise with me here. That is an incredibly unfair bug to have to deal with. No one should be subject to that. I don't know if I've even got enough information. No, I can't even jump to the definition. So it's not even like... I bet it's Windows. It can only be Windows, right? There it is. In WinGDI.h, they have an error which gets converted to a 0. That is rude. No, it's fine. The deduction guide is fine. Like, the deduction guides are okay. It's the fact that error has been replaced with a 0. I cannot. I'm normally pretty relaxed about this. And I'm like, I've not made the world's most popular operating system. Blah, blah, blah. Would I do it any differently? I would not stick error in the public namespace. Absolutely outrageous. That's going to have to be now, isn't it? I'm not even error 2 because it looks like I made a mistake then. Absolutely outrageous. I'm not even fun anymore. Right, okay, so... I'm not having IFO. I could maybe allow DBG, but IFO, not happening. So what is wparam? Is that a uint pointer t? So why can I not print wparam? My include log still commented out. Ah, well done. That's yeah. Strange? Question mark? Yeah, I don't. Like, we tested all this. This all worked. This was fine. Okay, but I can't have wparam. It won't forward that argument. Why would it not forward that argument? Cannot bind an L value to an R value reference. Yeah, okay, I would agree with that. I guess. I suspect this is probably why you don't roll your own log library. Well, param is a wide char? I don't. No, it's not though. It's a. What is? It might be wide actually. How have I done this before? Have a quick look. Where's the window function? Matrix vector. Let's have a look at Win32 window. There's an ad going on Twitch anyway, so I'll just casually have a look. just want to print it. Like, this is absurd. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just cast it. Right. Okay, fine. Got the key values. Normally one glass of water gets me through 2 hours, so it's about time I need a bit more. The thing is that they're not letters, they're key codes. So, like, what would be the char for, I don't know, the escape key? But we've got all the VK ones, so let's have a think how we're going to do this, because we're basically, again, part of me wants to avoid, part of the sort of goal of this, I guess, is to build an abstraction which avoids us having to communicate with like the low level primitives, the low level kind of features. So I don't really want to be communicating Win32 stuff outside of the windowing code or the specific platform code, and I don't really want to be communicating OpenGL stuff outside of like the actual OpenGL like rendering and stuff. So I need to just convert this into a game key. It'll probably be the same value, but at least that way I feel like I can kind of reason about them a little bit better. So Win32. What I want is a list of all the virtual key codes. That's what I want. So we've got like backspace key, tab key, all these, return, shift, control, menu, blah, 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 left, right, up, down, and then we've got the 0, and then we've got the numerical keys, which is what? The ASCII, someone saying these are the ASCII equivalent? 41 is A, yeah, okay. I don't have a timeline and not very far, I think would be the answer to that. Escape is 1B. Sam out there memorizing all the VK keys. Appreciate it. Yeah, they'll be in the Windows header, yeah. So I think what we want to do is let's keep it simple, and we'll just add to it as we need to. Let's do source key.h hash once. Namespace game enum class key. Get there in a minute. Right. So I'm just going to basically wrap the Windows ones in our own name. So for instance, we're going to have A, and that will be OX, whatever it was, 41, right? B, etc., etc., etc. So I'm just going to do the so Not particularly exciting. Right, and then there's almost certainly a clever way of doing this in Vim, but so can I do... Of course, it's not in hex, so it won't actually it won't actually work. That's funny. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, 50, 51, 5, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Steady. 4, 6. And this will make sense in a minute while I'm doing this, by the way. I'm just kind of in the zone of doing this. Oh, okay, fine. It is smart enough to pick up X. Okay, fine, no mind. And then what I want is like esc. What did we say escape was? OX1B? I think someone said that. I'm just going to add them as I need them. There's no point doing all of them. This is the joy of doing stuff from scratch, though. Escape. Okay. Okay, so now we've got that horror out of the way. And then what we want is format, and then where do we do formatting? Where do we do custom formatter vector? Do we not have a custom formatter for vector? Oh my goodness, we're missing that. Okay, fine. Stood formatter game key. Don't care. Game key, and then char. Nope. Stood string s. Nope. Auto s equals stood string. In fact, actually, nope. Let's be even more modern than that. Include string view, and then using namespace stood literals, and then auto s equals sv, and then return format to cout. I'll say key. Actually, no, get out of that, and then I think that's right. Yes, I use the clang D for the LSP. It works surprisingly well with MSVC because I use the wine MSVC, and then if you set the right environment variables, I was very surprised. Clang D just kind of picks it up and runs with it. Very surprised how easy this works. Yeah, okay, fine. Switch. Obj. Case A. S equals SV break. And then, so let's do enc 39G, okay, and then, so QA to the beginning, case there, S equals, bang, bang, right, yank equals, F equals, A, P, A, break, D, Q. Okay, let's see if we got that one right. Oh, absolutely nailed it. Oh, I've got an extra quote. I'll fix that in a second. That was pretty. I think that was pretty close to being good. I also missed off the SV, which is annoying. I think that was pretty good to being good. I can't just convert the letters to ASCII though, because what do I do with like escape and stuff like that? Okay, fine. Back to it. So now what I can do is, sorry, getting ahead of myself. E source key event .h run once. Into the game. Class key event. Whoa. Whoa, what happened there? And then explicit key event key auto key const key make that public, and then we're going to do it private. Key, and then I need to include key, obviously. Okay, that's kind of what we want. Okay, fine. And then key source key event .cpp, and then hash include key hash include. Oh, we might have a. Oh, we're gonna have a. Oh no, we're not. Never mind. Ignore me. I thought we were gonna have a clash, but I was getting ahead of myself. Bring all that over here. We'll just tidy it up. So don't need that. 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 And then key event, and then maybe there with the dot. Yep. And then put there and the dot. And then don't need explicit. And then key. And then return. So this is just like a read-only container for our key, right? But it's going to form part of our variant. Okay, so before we do that, so easy to get kind of carried away and like be like mind racing like a million miles an hour. Like I need to do this, need to do this, need to do this, and then you kind of miss something. So that event. Key, and then key event. Okay, I think we're getting there. The purpose of the key is to encapsulate a pressed key on the keyboard. And then the key event just kind of encapsulates that. I suppose we could have just put key there, but I want to keep everything as like something like the name of like the thing event, and then I only really want read-only access to it. So I guess that's why we're doing that. So now, bring in key event, bring in key. Now what we can do here is, rather than printing this, we can do g event q dot emplace game key event, and then we can static cast to a game key the w param value, because we're going to keep these in sync with the we're going to keep our enum in sync with the w param, so that means we can just static cast it straight into there, and it should just match up with the right name. It'll make sense when we get there, he says. Okay, will that blend? Will all that blend? No, you're probably right. I strongly suspect you can't find that file because it doesn't exist. Line 48, double that. Oh, missing double that, thank you. I am very surprised you cannot do that. Cannot convert from char to... Yeah, it is a static cast. Oh, hang on. Oh, it's because I think it's that. No, I think I just got my brackets the wrong way around. Nope. Okay. Key event takes a key, and the key is an enum class, which is automatically backed by an int. So why can I not cast that into there? The conversion to a enumeration type requires an explicit cast. A static cast, C-style cast, or parenthesized function style cast. Correct. I would agree with you. That's what I thought I had done. Oh, is it? Oh. Whoops. Now I need to go back to what I had, because what was that error? Cannot be declared with the oh, have I included the explicit? Have I goofed? Whew, right. Okay. Main. Let's see if we've wired all this up correctly now. So now we can do else if const expr stood same as t game key event. I should be able to do game log debug key press arg.key. Like that. Yeah, space is a question mark because I've not handled it. So it doesn't. So yeah, obviously, if they have a different keyboard, I will have to handle all those individual key presses. So I mean, Shift will just be sticky keys. Ha, good one. Shift will just come out as a question mark because again, it will handle. I can shove any key I want into this enum, right? Because it is well defined to stick in a numerical value that is not represented by one of these. So and then if I ever need to actually reference it by name, I just add it to the list. And we can change. What's nice about this is we can change the backing type. So if for some reason int isn't big enough, so if it went full on Unicode and you needed more than 4 bytes, then we could change this to maybe like a UChar 32 or something like that. So I think that's pretty good. What I want to actually do is actually have some functional equivalent of this. So some actual functionality. So I don't necessarily need to print it out, but if if arg.key is equal to game key escape, then running equals false. Right. I think that's what I want. So I want to be able to say, look, I just smash the escape key and get out of the game. Yeah, the logging is a little bit verbose. It needs some filtering on it. I just haven't bothered to do it yet. Again, it's like I've not needed to do it, so I'll go back and we can change that at some point. It's just a little bit of text filtering. Okay, you didn't see that, obviously, but I pressed the escape key and it worked. So that's pretty cool. I guess now what we need is the ability to use the WSAD keys to move the camera around. So if people are happy to hang around for a bit longer, I'm happy to go on for a little bit longer. We should probably try and do camera movement. I think that'd be a good next thing to do. Because then we've got multiple objects, and then a movable camera, and then really that kind of lays up nicely to be able to then do the index rendering, named buffers, do some lighting. Let's just keep going. Okay, so what we're going to need is camera, auto void translate const vector 3 translation void. So what I want to be able to do is, again, this is the point of abstraction, right? I can start building out the API that I want. Given a camera in 3D space, I want to be able to say move it this many units. So this is not an absolute position in 3D space. This is like, please move yourself like 1 to the right, or 2 to the left, or 1 up. Auto, yeah, I fixed it. We got there. Thank you. So if I go to camera, and then I do that, and then 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 that. So I think what I can do is just do view times equals matrix for translation. I think that's right. Given the translation matrix, what I don't know is if I need to rebuild the whole thing with the look at and the up, or if I can just, once I've calculated that, if I can just literally do matrix manipulation to move it. I think that's right. So what we're going to want is out here a auto velocity equals game vector 3. X equals 0.9f dot y equals 0. I know I missed the dot. I know I missed the dot before everyone shouts at me. I know I missed it. Compiler's text to speech. I do like the idea that every time I compile it, it just reads out all the error messages for everyone to see. Okay, so what we can then do is we'll process all the events. Then before we render, what we'll do is we'll do camera dot translate velocity. And it'll probably need to no longer be const. Okay. So what we're going to do is Sam says I need to recalculate it. Okay, well we'll give it a go. Twitch has differing opinions on whether I can just move it or whether I need to recalculate it. So what I suppose I could do is look at what I've done previously. Check out the prior art, as it were. Camera CPP. I did have to recalculate it. That's fine. Okay. So we can quickly change this. So what I'll have to do then is have a vector 3 position. Source camera. And then I will position, and then what we can do is we can do position plus equals translation, and then view equals matrix 4 look at no, I want to do I'll get there in a minute. I need to do I need to install the direction and the up. That's annoying. I have to install that. The look at will need to be, yes, you're right, relative to where I am. So I'll need it to be am I going to have to store? Yeah, so I'm going to need to store the current. Well, the camera's going to be fixed. I'm not doing rotation at the moment. So the look at is always going to be perpendicular. It's always going to be down the way you're looking. So, okay. I think I've got it. Nothing's ever easy. I think this might not technically be correct by storing the look at as the direction, but it will work for our sort of simple case. So I need to do a vector addition. Quickly slap those in there. I need to move these into a CPP file at some point, but translation will be addition to the current position of the camera. The world position of the camera will trigger changes to the projection matrix for all objects in the scene. Yeah, so the projection matrix I won't have to change because I'm not changing any of this. I'm just changing the view matrix. So if I move to the right, I want to be able to, like, again, I'm not worried about rotation, I'm literally moving about static camera. So I can then do direction plus equal translation, and then I can do matrix for look at position, direction, and up. I think. Well, you know what? Give it a try and find out. Okay. So at you need to move the cameras. Yeah, I believe I've done that, right? Have I not moved? I've moved the position and the direction by the translation, which is fine, because if I'm looking at 0, 0 and I move to the right, I now want my direction vector to be right some amount. Yeah, we're going to do pitch your roll later. It's just at some point, because I'm going to need to do quaternions and a whole lot of other stuff as well, because then we're going to have to get mouse events. Let's take a step back, because I've realised I'm missing something. We need to be able to represent key up and key down states. Which means key of need to add this for key state, and then key state, and then I think we can just handle both cases here. Switch of key state, and then case up, down, shake it all around, up, down, shake it all around. Excuse me. Okay, so now we go to key event. This will also have to have a key state, and then a key state variable, and then an ability to get that, because that no longer needs to technically be explicit. Auto state const key state. Typedef enum is basically C. You should always use enum class in C++ because it scopes it. The problem with enum is this just vomits these types into the surrounding namespace, whereas if I do it with class, I have to access them through key state. So basically it's a way of preventing name collisions, unless Microsoft hash defines one of your enum values to 0, in which case there's not really a lot you can do about that. Okay, so now window won't be happy because this isn't going to have a key state, so this is key down, so I should be able to now do game key state down, and then that's, and then I'm bring the break, key up. I'm actually move this first just because it was in the I declared it as the order is up and down. Okay, we happy with that? I think we're happy with that. So now main, source main, let's do else if this is going to get a little bit gnarly, but I might put it out into a function at some point. Key equals game key D, And then I'm going to want to do if. So actually, let's do velocity plus equals arg dot state equals game key state up game vector 3 dot x equals 0.0f dot y equals 0.0f dot z. I've met my follower goal of 350 people. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I believe the goalpost now moves, but that's pretty cool. Minus 1.0f. And then I'm just going to do that. Bring that there. And then do that, and then that. So basically, if I'm moving to the right, if I've pressed the D key, it means I want to be focusing on the z-axis movement. If I press it down, I will add 1 to the velocity. If I release it, then I need to undo that and subtract 1. So as long as I don't start the game with the key pressed, that should work. And then what I will do is do velocity equals game vector 3 normalize velocity. So then we'll just we're going to want to normalize this so that you don't go faster if you hold down 2 directional keys. Here we go. I might need to scale that by some sort of velocity, by some sort of speed. Well done. Yeah, of course. As usual, the compiler is right. I don't know what I'm talking about. State, and then from here. Perfect. I think it's... What? The velocity should be 0. Which means this function here should be effectively a no-op. Which it's obviously not. So it's fine. It's fine. We can fix that. We can fix that. I have every confidence we can fix it. What have I done wrong? Translation is 0, direction is 0. Oh. Just going to keep on building up those view matrices. Just keep on adding them. Let's keep on trucking. Y times equals indeed. Indeed. I still didn't play like it, but... that should be calculating the same view matrix every time, right? Let's just... oh, what? Maybe unused. Maybe. It's impossible to say. Okay, that works. So has my addition not worked? Quite a noisy log, but let's just see why that's not. That should be 0, which should mean gonna have to redo this logging code at some point. It's caused me no end of headaches. I was trying to be clever, and I'm full of regret. Oh, Vector 3 has no formatter, you're right. Ah, we even said this. I was even shocked when I saw it. I was like, this cannot be right. That is... I don't think that's a particularly useful error message. Shocking for C++, I know. It's just the amount of boilerplate you got to go through those, absolutely unbearable. Right, okay. Okay, I think we're getting there. So now I can do obj.x, obj.y, obj.z. Close that, close that. Get rid of that. It's all trial and error. I still can't understand why this doesn't work. I'm convinced this deduction guide is wrong. I don't think this should be taken in by value. I really do think this should be taken in by forward reference. But then that causes errors elsewhere. But it should. But I'm just like, I should be able to print a const object, right? Because this will deduce const, right? Interesting. I wonder if this is... No, forward args. In the depth of camera, shouldn't position and direction no longer be const? They were never const to start with, right? They pass them in by const ref, but then you take a copy of them. So arguably they should be passed by value anyway and forwarded in, but moved in. But that's a problem for another day. I don't understand why this isn't working. Now it doesn't like the I mean, it's only full of headaches because this is like hoisted by my own petard, right? This is a mess of my own doing. I literally cannot understand why this cannot. So it's trying to match const char 3, which is correct, to the argument list const vector, but it's lost. Why does it think I've got an initializer list? Got my print. Takes the level and a variable number of args. It specializes it, or provides a partial specialization where we want a string to start with, then some variable number of arguments, and then the auto-filled source location. Chuff, don't care about. And then we say, because it was trying to capture this as part of the arguments list, which was effectively trying to then implicitly convert the last argument to a source location, we say no. When you have a variable when you're given a variable number of arguments in the list, deduce those to the template arguments. And I can't see why that wouldn't work. Because this should deduce. This deduction guide will basically say take char star const vector 3 ref and make those the arguments. This will then capture it. These will then get forwarded on to the make format args, and we know it has a formatter now. So the error is saying a functional style cast from initializer list. Printf's not type. I mean, arguably my code isn't type aware because it doesn't work with custom types, but printf is definitely not type aware. I want to be able to say, look, here's how you format my thing. Format it. This is interesting. Camera log print function does not take 2 arguments. But why is it? I think the issue here is it's trying to call this as a function, whereas really it should be constructing a type. What if we just say log level? So this is just level, isn't it? Level debug. I'm just going to call it directly. Log level. I appreciate this is not getting us any closer to moving the camera, so I will pause this at some point, but I'm kind of curious as to why it's not working. Cannot come back. Print function does not take. While trying to match the argument list. It's something to do with this deduction guide. I really don't understand. I can't see why this would make a difference. Oh, hang on, what's this? So it's found the constructor for print, and it's saying it does not take 2 arguments. How strange. So why? What was if I fully specify all of them? No overload function convert all the argument types. Const game to game of ref. Conversion uses qualifier. Okay. Cannot convert from. It doesn't like. It's getting tripped up over the constness somewhere. It's like, you've given me a const vector 3 and I cannot convert this to a const ref. Which again, yeah. Which is fine, right? It loses the qualifier, but fine, so do I need to be like, okay, fine, so let's do const, let's fully deduce that to that. Okay, right, okay. So it's to do with the type deduction then. It's losing the const qualifier when I'm doing this, but because this is a forwarding reference, so this will bind to either an L value or an R value depending on what it is given, as in depending on what you've passed to it. So this will become an L value because we've passed it an L value, right? But why would it not deduce the constness? That's the bit I'm missing. I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced about this. I really do think this should be that. Oh, well, we've got some time. I was going to stream for like another hour or so, so we'll definitely get the moving camera. So it's not using the deduction guide now, which is fine. But if I let it deduce the types itself, then because template deduction type rules remove. What are the template type deduction rules? There's something around them which removes const and ref, I think. Arguments that are references are treated as non-references, i.e. their referenceness is ignored. When deducing types by value parameter, const or volatile arguments are treated as non-const, non-volatile. So it's stripped that off as part of the deduction rules. Const references. The other thing is I just force a copy, right? That could work. And then let's go back to what we had. So let's not deduce any arguments. Could not deduce template for L. Why would it not? And then I don't need that either now. Oh, hang on, wait a minute. That's not going to work for me, is it? Let's go back to doing it this way. That's arguably worse. A non-const reference only round to an L value. Yes. Okay, fine. Is it now this? So do I just need... Okay, I don't really like it, but it works. Basically, I've kind of avoided the issue of it misdeducing the type by just forcing it to take it as a copy. So it means our logging is now not particularly efficient because it's going to copy all the arguments here, and I believe it's also going to copy them again here. However, it's a logging thing and it's a debug. I don't really care. It's enough to get us going. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to have a ponder on that in slow time, I think. Enjoy. Thank you for coming along, BritPro. I'll put it for another hour or so, but this will be up on YouTube afterwards, so do catch it. Bear in mind, before we disappear after the stream, I'm going to release the next video, so do come back and watch that. Yeah, okay, I'm not super pleased about that, but again, let's not let perfect be the enemy of the good. That's Fernand's. That's why it's not doing what I want it to do. How have we ended up there? Oh, have I? Yeah, I don't want it to be too runtime heavy though. Like, there's no need to be copying those values around. But I agree. Like, it should be relatively simple. Oh. This is exactly what someone said when I first did this. And I'd be like, well, we'll solve that issue. We'll solve that issue when we get to it. And we've got to it, and I forgot it. So I do apologise to that person. I don't know what, like, is the canonical thing to do here, but I feel I'm not totally wrong in just saying this should just become like a zero vector, right? Like, is anyone really that upset if I do that? Been a whirlwind today. It's been nice having a slightly longer stream and can spend some time getting into some more of the weeds, bits, pieces. Okay. Let's remove that log, and then we'll take. Actually, this could be fun. Okay. Where was I in all that mess? Camera. Okay. Let's do. Okay. Well, D. So, I'm going to start a prediction on Twitch, and I'll do a poll on YouTube. Let's see what's going to happen. So when I press the D button to go right, what do we think is going to happen? How do I poll on that poll? Try and get the options the same. Go as an ad as well, so I'll wait for the ad to finish as well. Start the poll on YouTube as well. I have maybe unused on the translation because I was experimenting with not referencing that variable, and then I get a warning treated as an error saying you've named a variable that you've not used. So I'll just go swap that. Go forward. Okay, I didn't. That wasn't one of the options, so that's fine. We'll see what happens. There's a command. How do I see the poll? There you go. Okay. A lot of people not very confident. I think we can treat going forward as the same as exploding. Should we see what happens? Get your bets in. Everyone get your bets in. Explode is anything that is not the above. I think it's because I'm not looking head on to it already. I think I've violated my my assumption. I'm gonna say that the choose the outcome that exploded, because what I think we need to do is actually reset the camera to be looking down the origin in the first place, right? Yeah, you've got points. I don't know what they mean or what they equate to. Hopefully prizes. Where am I going? Where am I going? Why am I going backwards? Right, okay. So I started off on minus... Oh, I think someone even mentioned this. I want it to be -1. Yeah, okay, fine. I think someone even mentioned this. End poll. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you saw it. It was pretty quick, and I can't go back, but it was definitely there. Okay, let's... quickly add the others. Whoa, what's going on here? What's going on here? So I want to go, that should be 0. Why is that being like that? And then A would be the inverse, and then W will be minus, and then S will be... Oh. I'll get this right in a second. 0. Right. W will be forward, so that should be -1 and 1, and this should be 1 and -1, so S, and that should be 0 and 0. Yeah, I think I removed it. Yeah, okay. Swap the keys around. Okay. Now that, I think, is pretty cool. Oh, I've missed key press somewhere. I'm not... It would be pretty cool if I hadn't just gone off into infinity. Let's debug that. So I can press... Oh, it's because of the normalization, isn't it? I know exactly why it's doing that. As soon as you press 2 together, it's going to lock one in place. So I want to keep the velocity, and I actually... I actually just want to normalize it when I pass it in. I don't want to actually undo the state of it. Okay, let's try that. There we go. So we can go into the cube. And we can go really far away to the cube until it disappears. Oh, there's the far plane. Oh, it never came back. It never came back. What happened there? Oh, I've still got a key pressing issue. Yeah. This logic is wrong. It's either because I'm not handling all the key presses. It could be repeating keys. Let's see what we get. So game log debug. I don't think I can actually print the event. I think I have to print them separately. But arg.key r.state. Try having an array of booleans for the key codes. Yeah, I think that's probably the right way of doing it. And then you check on those. Yeah, to be honest, I think that's how I've done it before. Is rather than trying to copy the code, the key presses directly to velocity, is you effectively maintain the state of the key presses and then calculate the velocity at the end. I think that's right. Default no state. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's main so let's do auto. I'm just going to do it as variables. I know it's not the best way of doing it, but I think just for the moment, I'm just going to do it as... Actually, no. In fact, I know it's not efficient, but what I'm going to do is... let's use a map. And then we'll have here, stood, unordered map. Game key ball key state. And then from that we can let's just set the default ones we want. So game key W. Again, that should be a game state rather than a key state. So then I could have W and up arrow map to the same thing, but let's just go for this at the moment. And then we can do key state key. Oh, actually, I think we can just do key state arg.key equals key arg.state equals key game key state down. Oh, there's a interesting suggestion that I rewrite rather than deducing a char star. I deduce it as an actually array of characters with a fixed size n. Yeah, I might try that later. That's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm going to have a play around with that, I think, off stream, because we've gotten quite far, because I kind of want to at least get... I want to go for at least another, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so, and I really want to get the camera stuff done, but that's a good point. Okay, so I think this will now let me know the state of the keys after I've processed all the... So I process all the input, I get the final state of the keys, up, down, whatever, and now finally I can set the velocity. So the velocity no longer needs to be here, it needs to be here. Yeah. I think, yeah, having the key arrays that kind of map to those existing values is probably more efficient, but this unordered mapper should work for me for now. In fact, I don't think I need those default states, but I'll fix that in a minute. So this will be... So the X will be... So hang on. Key state game key D. Right, so if the D key is pressed, but then I need to also handle the fact that A is pressed, because if you're pressing D and then you press A, you want that to be zeroed out. That's 1.0 F. 0.0 F. Yeah, I'm sure there's almost certainly better ways of doing this. I just what is kind of what comes to me in the moment, you know. So positive is back. I'm always looking to improve and learn and get better though. So it doesn't necessarily mean what I'm doing is the right thing. Oh! It's absolutely. I think we might be on to a winner. Boop, boop, boop. So this is it. This is the game. I'm going to ship it. I'm going to put this on Steam right now. So let's get rid of this logging because it's gross. Let's just check that works, and then what we're going to do is we'll comment this up, and then we'll see where we are. See what we're going to do with the rest of our time. It's gone. All right. I would like to do mouse movement as well, and then but we'll see. Let's go. So I don't need these. That's a waste of time. Also, I was not following my own self-imposed style. Yeah, we'll do mouse. I have tried doing mouse picking before, and it's a massive pain, and I've never been very good at it. So maybe we can watch me struggle through it live. It might be quite interesting. I don't know if I have time to do textures today, but what I do want to do is let's do auto scene equals game scene like that, and do for auto I equals minus 10u minus 10u plus I rjfi do and then scene dot entities dot pushback treat ourselves, and then we're going to have at mesh at material, and then dot x equals how big are the cubes? Oh, thank you. I've so out of habit written that. Static cast float I dot y equals 0.f dot z equals static cast float j. That's almost certainly not right. Nope. Get there in a minute. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's absolutely not wrong. Main 80. What have I done? Oh, of course, it won't deduce that. It cannot possibly divine that. Well, mPlaceBack should perfectly forward all the arguments, right? And as entities is just a no, I know exactly what I'm wrong. Entities equals stud vector game entity. The whole point was the scene is non-owning. So that should work. And then what we should be able to do is let's try this. Let's see if we can make this const again, because its entities dot entity should equal my entities pipe to stud views transform auto const auto e no, what am I doing? Const auto e return e pipe to stud views to stud vector. Why is it not like that? What have I missed? What have I missed? Yeah, I agree. This is my understanding of what going on in the chat now, is that Vulkan has the potential to be more performance, but only if you really know what you're doing. I think any Vulkan I would write would be pretty slow because I don't have like decades of experience in doing it. Oh, is it ranges too? Is it ranges too? Okay, nice. I guess they're all perfectly on a in a row now. I don't know what I expected. Let me just drop them down a little bit. Yeah, we basically made Minecraft. That's better. Nice little plane of cubes. Cool. Oh, the clipping's a bit grim. I'll need to drop them probably a little bit more. Bring it down a little bit, and then maybe can we just add 0. I want times 1.1 f. I think that will give them a little bit of spacing between them. I think. That's not what I wanted. It looks pretty cool though. Bit of Zeb fighting. Do I just need to add? Okay. Nope, turns out I don't know what I'm doing. I think, no, because this needs to be scaled for each one, right? Oh yeah, sorry. I was in it already. As in here. Okay then, this is yeah, the cube is 1, so I mean, it's not quite what I wanted. Yeah, so that's what I thought. I had them all just each one needs to be shifted along by like if you start at 0, the first one needs to be at 0, then the next one needs to be about 1.1, then 2.2. I'm not actually. I don't care. I think I've come to the conclusion it's not worth the headache. And my brain can't visualize it in 3D. I'll come back to it another day. Lots of suggestions of adding random numbers. I think. Oh, it's even worse. What have I done now? Oh. Right, okay, I'll fix that later. I'm not that fast. I think it's just a bit of fun just to kind of show it. Yeah, is it I times q side plus I times gap? So you can factor that out, right? Because the I is common to both of them. So is it? So is that not I times cube size plus gap, which is what I thought I was doing? I times 1 point. So the cube is 1. So is that not? This is what I thought would be sort of like 1.5f, right? Oh, is it 2 by 2? Okay. Glad someone's paying attention. Okay, that fixed it that way. So then we just do that. Build it. Add break. Still doesn't seem. I think the cube is wrong, and we've just never looked at it from the top before. But it doesn't actually matter because we're going to fix all this and do proper like index rendering anyway at some point. I'm probably not going to get to that now, I don't think. Let's just. Yeah, I think that's just wrong. Okay, so let's make camera movable. Add connect, add events, print vector 3. So look what we got. Commit fix ish log. Oh, bollocks, missed that. Okay, fine. For fix up. Fix this log. 2. What have I done? I've had a git issue there. So fix the log ish, print the vector, make camera movable. Oh, I know exactly what's going on. Right, okay, let's just reset to there and let's try it again, shall we? Commit fix ish log event key stop commit add events vector 3 commit print vector 3 commit make camera movable, and then basically a bit of a cop out, but integrate changes. Oh, one of the ATM devs is here. It's good to see you. Glad you're here. It's through his team's work that I can dual stream. So thank you very much for coming along and supporting. Okay, right. So I think we've done quite a lot. I'm actually tempted to kind of wrap things up here because I think we've been streaming for like over 3.5 hours now, which is quite a long time. I'm just trying to think what would next be. So what we've got next to do is to handle camera movement with the mouse, which I think is important, but I think that's going to be a little bit more in depth because we're going to have to do probably quaternions and your pitch role and extend some of the vector classes and the matrix classes. After that, we definitely need to fix up the rendering, which is fine, and then lighting, I think. Yes, I have not tagged it yet because I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing any more. So, but I think I'm going to call it. Well, before everyone disappears, let's tentatively. What do I call the tags? 3 stream. So this is going to be stream 6. Nope, it's going to be stream 7. Cool. Right, before everyone disappears with whatever else they need to do. So I've already got a quaternion class built from a previous project, so I'm probably just going to port larger parts of that over just because I kind of know it works and I know how to kind of integrate it with the matrix class. So I'm probably going to do just like a sort of bare bones quaternion class next stream. I think we'll try and get the mouse movement working. I think then we can kind of move around in 3D space. I think that'd be really nice. And then when we start adding lights and stuff like that, it's easy for us to see what's going on. So I'm pretty pleased with this. I'm gonna leave this up here for us all to make. That's a YouTube community post in the making. Right. Before everyone disappears, like I said, damn it, people already start going. No, come back. Content. I'm going to thanks. I mean, one of the things I really focus on at my work and like just generally over my last sort of how many years professionally is teaching. It's something I really enjoy doing. I work a lot with our sort of grad and intake pipeline and cohorts, teaching C++ and various other bits and pieces. So I've had a fair amount of practice at it, and it's something I really enjoy doing. I have also just published the next video, so everyone after this should immediately go watch that, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. That'd be absolutely grand if you could do that. It would help me out a lot. Hopefully you enjoy it. For those on Twitch, anyone around? Anyone I recognise to raid? Or we could pick someone random. Same category. Viewers. Who's? No, I don't recognise anyone. Someone else doing C++ game dev and learn OpenGL. So I'll send everyone over there now. I don't know who it is and if they're any good, but it might be nice for them to get a few people. Cool. Okay. I will wrap that up here. Thanks very much for everyone coming along. Hope you had a good time. I'm going to try and stick to the regular schedule and stream tomorrow. Keep an eye out on the YouTube community post page. I'll put there if I can or can't not. But hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. If not, I'll see you Wednesday. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to go have a beer and some dinner. Catch you later.